Alright, looks like the stream is live. I would like to go over really quickly my build. Having some problems with my mouse at the moment, trying to fix that. One minute. Why am I having problems with my mouse? Alright, let's see if that fixed it. Well, I'm going to temporarily have the game in windowed mode until I find out how to fix it. Okay, so how this build works is I am currently running an Istidar as my culture. So I'm doing a prayer build. I'm using a god that heals me every time one of my ally dies. I'm using the sorcerer, which means that I'm using a glass cannon build, but because I summon, I'm usually not being attacked. I have on prayer, standstill, and hit effects because of it. Because of that, I'm doing a prayer build. I'm obviously going to be using projection so that I get my standstill actions on prayer. The rest of the build came together. I decided to go for chants with Gore Chant and Grave Chant. The idea being that on prayer I would summon units, and then I would damage said units and summon cadavers from killing those units, and then killing the cadavers as well. So I'm doing an on-kill summon build. I decided to go with the Uhrata for the first time. There was another prestige that was available that seemed like a good idea for an on-kill summon build, but I decided to just try the Uhrata for just some extra damage. I'm a little sad that I went for Necromancy. My allies are dying faster than they can attack enemies, so the only thing I'm really getting out of this is a little bit of extra summon and a little bit, yeah, it's just a little bit of extra summon. If instead of Necromancy, I could have picked Astro Hunting, which would have given me -2 in flexibility, which would have let me pick up and equip the Kairos skirt. I didn't go that route, but if I were to do this build again, I would absolutely go that route. Astro Hunting also works really well with Uhrata, who likes to do damage to adjacent enemies. Bloodbath does the same thing, likes to do adjacent damage to enemies. Bloodbath for healing early. Late game, I've been relying on my god to give me all of my buffs, so or on all my healing. I've got damage on heal. I've got Cursed Flesh for more healing, and Doom on death damage. I'm in 1 strength. I'm going to be switching from my Blight Sarabara into my Bone Skirt, which is going to allow me to do death damage. Earlier in the run, I was using a Blight Saber, but once I reached the Void, I found the Tooth Sword, which is perfect for my build. Throughout the game, Serpent Fetish has been my offhand for more summons and more damage on kill. Thunder Mask for charge on kill. Even though charges are reduced on standstill, I'm still getting quite a massive boost in damage from this. I was thinking about using Crow Visage instead, but my standstill actions are less powerful than the amount of on-hit and damage instances I'm doing, so I prefer charge stacks. Ice Gloves for more summons and standstill damage. And finally, Robe of Gore for blood damage on dealing damage to an ally. This is going to work really well once I finally get my Bone Skirt equipped. The Tooth Sword plus the Gore is going to... plus the Robe of Gore is going to make my Bone Skirt activatable 100, almost through 75% of my damage. And that death damage is then going to apply Doom to the target. So they're going to get thousands of Doom stacks from this combo. So I almost went down the Kyra Skirt plus Crow Visage route. If I'd picked up Astro Stoicism, that's probably the route I would have gone. But this route has an incredible amount of on-hit on-kill damage effects. So we're going to go into the last area, and hopefully I can get a win. So with this build, I like to use my first prayer to summon a bunch of dead at the start of an area. Then I like to go into my third prayer to summon a familiar. And that familiar at times can survive and start doing some damage. And then the Slugga effect is just a minor version of the first prayer that I'll probably use if I run out of other prayers. So as you can see, I just press one prayer button and all of my combo starts to go off. And that's one rune cleared with one press of the button. So now I'm going to switch to Bone Skirt. And that's probably going to increase my damage even more. So I've gone the full blood death route with death damage from Bone Skirt. So we'll see. Gold Demon's usually the bane of melee builds, not so much for this build. Alright, that was one cast. Kills aren't very quick, but the amount of effects per round is pretty heavy, so... My strength is good, my dex is good. I might pick Vigor later on, but getting my will up to 60 for the boss sounds like a good idea. Having about 7,500 Vigor is a little less than I would like. I think I probably should put about 5 more points into Vigor to get myself up to 8,500, but right now I'm valuing damage. My defenses are so low that if I get attacked more than one time, I'm probably dead. Wow, that was just a non-entrance effect. Alright, so I think I'm going to put more points into Chant because I get more bleeding dead every time I put a skill point into this. And the retort damage is absolutely absurd. The reason that it's so powerful is because I'm getting damage from Toothed Sword onto myself every time I kill one of my own units. So the retort is also going to do blood damage, which is then going to be reapplied as death damage, which will then apply doom stacks. Alright, Kingdom of the Pillars is here. My spawn is pretty acceptable. Actually, never mind. I'm within range. I'm within melee. Oh, actually, no, this is a perfect spawn. 3 range of Kingdom of the Colors is probably exactly where I want to be. That's the maximum range of my Robe of Gore. We'll see at the end of this first round how many stacks of Doom have been applied to them. Still the first round. Not good. And I died. So that was the first round. I had not pressed a single button. It seemed like he got 3 turns after the first my first action. He had 5,000 doom stacks and 441 bleed. Let's see what he had that killed me. So he didn't even have a on-kill group of abilities, just some game turn effects. So he probably just very honestly killed me from maybe 2 attacks. Fire Breath. Why did I die? So I was applying Doom to myself from Cursed Flesh. It seems like because he has an area attack, he attacked every one of my summons, and because he was within range 3, Fire Breath activated and went through all of my defenses and killed me. So it seemed like because of the way the area effect ranged attacks work in this game, he would attack everything within range, and then Fire Breath would hit me every single time that he attacked an allied unit. So if I had spawned not 3 spaces from him, I probably could have killed him over time. If I'd spawned about, I mean, even at range 4, his passive damage wouldn't have gone off. It's interesting to note, on top of everything else, is after the King of Many Colors attacked me, I did 15,000 damage from bleed, and that bleed damage was then amplified by the Bone Skirt to do curse damage to him. Which means that if I apply something like bleed stacks to a target, and they take damage from those stacks, it's considered a source. It's considered a damage source from myself. Same thing for when the king attacked me, I dealt damage to myself with curse that I had applied. So I'm learning now that status effects, depending on what source they come from, are considered to come from that damage source, which is counter to what I looked up online. Something like Bone Skirt would activate on status effects if I apply them. So at least I learned something new. It means that there's a lot of build options that open up. It makes something like bleed much stronger in my eyes. Previously I had looked up if status effects were considered to come from you if you had applied them in terms of damage, and now I know that they do. But he had 5,000 doom stacks. If I was running a strong ally build, this would be powerful. If I was running a strong attack build, this would also be powerful. I think Doom on this build is probably the weakest thing I could apply in the game in terms of statuses, due to the fact that it only does damage to him when he's attacked. Something like Bleed would be much stronger, so it's a bummer that I lost. My spawn position was absolutely horrendous. At first I thought it would be good, but then after my turn, I realized he would get 3 turns back to back, area attacking all of my allies, which would then passively deal hit damage to me until I died. So it was a good run. It was a good try. I think I'll try this build again. Changes that I would make: I would find a better pair of gloves. The interesting part is the gloves are good if I'm running Crow Visage. I don't think I will run Crow Visage. I think I plan on running something similar to Thunder Mask, maybe Mask of Blood. I might be able to find a way to fit Hemokinesis in. If I don't find a way to fit Hemokinesis, then I'll be dropping Necromancy, and I'll be grabbing Astro Hunting, pairing it with, instead of Bone Skirt, which is quite good by itself, but I would pair it with Kairos Skirt, and then double down on standstill effects. So, it was a good run. I'll be able to try this again with probably a slight improvement and hopefully get a victory. But I just wanted to show the prayer effects on the 21st cycle doing work. And it's 3 things I've never actually done before. The last thing I want to talk about is the Prestige. So the Prestige was a good idea. I liked the Chant Prestige. It did some work with the amount of instances of blood damage that I was doing to every enemy on prayer. If I were to change things, I would find another Prestige that worked well, such as the Destroyer. I think Destroyer here would probably be better overall. I'd be able to go into Kairos Skirt to apply game turn effects more frequently. And I would be able to apply massive amounts of Meditate to myself, which would let me vary some of my helm options. So, Destroyer is probably better. I might even consider... No, I'm not going into Ice. So I think Destroyer could have been a better Prestige. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.